Hello, everyone. Welcome to People on Dating. I'm your host, Willie Morales. And today's topic is a good one. First, I want to say hello to Lisset and Lucy. Ladies, how are you?
Hi there.
Very good. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
So today's topic is how soon do you date after a breakup? That could be a hot button topic because some people wait a long time. Some people just get back on the horse and start riding. So anyway, for those of you who haven't heard the show before, this is called People on Dating. This is a topical conversation, no Q&A. Basically, we're just having fun and talking about the ups and downs of dating. You can find us on Facebook, People on Dating YouTube show, and you can find us on YouTube. So ladies, this topic, how soon do you wait, before you go out again? What are your opinions? Anyone?
I'll let you go first, Lisette.
Let's say you go first then.
La biblioteca.
Well, I guess it depends on who's doing the breaking up.
Okay.
Because
Let's say you got broken up with.
Okay, so someone else broke off with me, right?
Yeah.
I think in my case, and I can speak of, I've been through 2 divorces, so I'll use that as an example. It's devastating. It's a change. It's a lifestyle change. You have to get used to so many things, and you go through a period of time that you have to adjust to those changes. And then one morning you wake up and you're like, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to move on. I'm ready to see what's out there. I'm ready to put it behind me and move forward. So that could take 3 months. That could take 6 months. That depends on the person.
Yeah.
It depends on how badly your heart was broken.
Well, as a man, that happened to me. Geez, my God, I can't believe this. Sometimes you look back in time, and for me, it was like in the early 90s. That was this woman I met when I used to work with her, and we dated for about, to be honest, it was short. It was 3 months, and I liked her a lot. I didn't. Anyway, she broke up with me because she asked me point blank, was I in love with her? And I guess the question caught me off guard. And here I am, 28, 29 years old. And I'm like, no, I'm just getting to know you. We've been only hanging out for a few months. And she goes, oh, see, but I don't love you either. I don't want you to grow into loving me. And I said, wait a minute, you grow into loving a pet. We're just getting to know each other. So anyway, long story short, she ended it. And I was pissed. I was hurt. I didn't date anyone for, like you said, let's say maybe for me 4 to 6 months. And then when I went out with someone, it was a rebound. She was my rebound. So it wasn't even fair to her. And that was also short-lived because I just wasn't ready. Then I found someone else and I got over it. But it took me a long time. It took me 4 to 6 months.
Time.
Because I realized that I did love her, but I just didn't know how to say those words to her. I would send her flowers and everything, but I would just say, I don't even know if I wrote love on it. I just wrote her name and stuff. That's how immature I was back then. And I should have just told her straight out. I mean, you look back, it's all hindsight, but I should have said, hey, listen, I love you. I do. I'm in love with you. But I just couldn't say those words. I just wasn't ready to say those words.
It's so interesting how there are a lot of lessons in that relationship for you to learn. So that was like a gift to you.
I mean, oh yeah, definitely. At the time, hell no.
Right. But those los golpes de la vida, the school of hard knocks teaches you a lesson, and then you become a better person for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm actually going through the breakup right now. I really don't want to judge, so I'm going to take responsibility for everything I'm going to say. But I'm going through the breakup, and why I say that is because at some point, when the point is that I got ghosted. And I didn't know if it was like a breakup or what the hell was going on. So I was giving this person a space. And then later on, I found out that he finally admitted that he ghosted me. And I was like, well, okay. And how do I take this? And there was no further discussion around it. I wanted to talk about it, but he didn't. So I just decided, okay, so now I have to take responsibility for my own life and determine how and when I move forward. So I gave myself some time, but I felt like, and I gave myself like 3 months at least. Yeah. And I felt like I was starting to feel like my life was stuck. Like it was now impacting the rest of my life. And I really wanted to move forward. I had gotten to the point where I didn't even know how to move forward because a couple of things had happened. One, I felt like when all of this was happening, I had lost my identity before that happened. And I've been reading up on this. So like you have the feeling of losing your own identity, and then you go through the different stages of rage and depression, and you go through like not like in denial, and I went through all of that. And so I then decided, okay, but how now that I feel like I'm ready, to get out there again, because I'm not going to be that old maid in a shoe, So I'm like, okay, so how do I get myself out there? Because Prince Charming's not coming knocking at my door. I know that much. So actually this morning, I saw this video of someone who is a really great coach. Her name is Lori Gerber, and I know her from years back of another type of self-work that I did. And years later, she shows up on my screen. I happen to have a membership for Match.com, and I wasn't really like finding anything worthwhile, but I started to look at some of the tools that they have, and she popped up on my screen. She talks about recreating your identity, getting yourself a new hobby, creating a future that you can live into. So that kind of gets you out of the quote unquote funk or swamp that I've been living in. And then it has you go through all of these choices that you have to make for yourself that are called, like, she calls them the 3 H's: the head, the heart, and the health. So the head is about like, how do you want your finances? How do you want your lifestyle to be? And like to get clear on all of these things. And I didn't think that I needed that. But as I go through the list, I'm like, wow, I got very blurry in this area. I got very vague in that area. And I feel that a lot of how and why I kind of lost myself, my identity, is because I got very blurry in those areas.
Yeah.
And so I think it's important about going into a relationship is getting very clear, at least in the next relationship, if you have a lull, to get very clear on what you want for yourself in your life. And with regards to the head is like, how do you want your family life to look? Do you want children or no children? This is the area where you start to rethink, reevaluate yourself, your life, create your own future. Then you have the heart, do you want a romantic partner? Do you want a sugar daddy? I mean, people find partnerships for many, many reasons. And so you got to get clear for yourself what it is that you want. And then you have your health, like what lifestyle do you want to live? And so on and so on. So that really woke me up today. That really, really woke me up. And I plan to go through that to kind of get more clear for myself, gain more confidence on getting myself out there.
Well, you sound really from what I hear, really healthy and really like you're taking those steps, and that's amazing because somebody else might not do that. You saw some signs and you realized to yourself, like I did. I mean, obviously it was months later and years later when you reflect back on some of the relationships and you go, my God, I could have done this better. I was a little selfish. I wasn't ready, whatever. But you kind of just took stock of yourself and you realize like, holy shoot, you know what? I need to take care of the 3 H's, which is health, head, and heart, which I love. That's amazing. And you taking the steps, and that's all you could do, and get your head back on where now you could stay focused and you know what you want, you know what you don't want, and you don't take it to the next relationship. You become a better person, which that's what I see what you're doing now, and I think I applaud you for that. I mean, I really do.
Thank you.
Because like when and it's funny because I dated someone a couple of years ago and it wasn't a good breakup. I ghosted her because I knew this wasn't going anywhere. We still remain somewhat friends. We still communicated, but I just basically just backed off, because whenever I try to broach the subject of our relationship, the subject was always changed. But I realized, I'm like, okay, you know what? I see the writing on the wall. It's not there, but I wasn't devastated or anything because I just little by little, I just saw the walls crumbling, and I just got out. And I'm like, okay, I said to myself, if I ever see this person again, I would be friendly, say, hey, how you doing? But in terms of hanging out or anything, if she's on this side, I'm going to be on the opposite side, and that's it. But
Right.
and that's all I could do. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like there's that time period, and I think some women can relate, but a lot of men cannot relate to what I'm about to say.
Yeah.
Is that you need to like have space where you don't see each other at all, and you don't talk to each other until you feel comfortable enough to have reconnect in a new way, not the same way, but in a new way.
Yeah.
You mean after a breakup, Lucy?
Yeah, after a breakup.
Now, is it possible that you think, Lucy, that you or anybody else, well, let me even talk about anybody else. Let me talk about us, me and you. Like for me with this person, like I said, it wasn't at times we even snapped at each other and everything. But I said to myself, wish her the best. I hope she finds what she's looking for. Because I believe in karma, and I don't want to wish anybody bad. And I said, if I ever see her in the same circles that we have met before, I would be courteous and say, hey, how's it going? How are you? Blah, blah, blah. But like I said, just keep it moving. Because I know there's not going to be anything there but just hi and bye.
I agree. So I think that keep giving each other space is about regaining the respect and humanity of each other before we can reconnect with that person and kind of see them in a new light, see myself. Like maybe I needed time to forgive myself for some of the things that maybe I did, because believe me, I'm not a saint either. I'm not saying that, but so there were some things I had to reflect on, and there were some things that I don't want to repeat. And even though I am getting invitations for the same individual, I'm just checking in with my heart and checking in with my head and, asking myself, do I really want this? Like, am I ready for this? Even if it were only friends. And honestly, I'm not right now.
Well, I have to tell you, there's a very fine line there, because if you were really emotionally involved, it's very difficult to just go from being emotionally involved to being a friend that quickly.
Yes.
It takes months. Sometimes it takes years,
Right.
I can speak about my first divorce, my first, my 20s, late 20s, early 30s. I was devastated. I did not, want to hear from him, look at him. I hated the fact that he had literally, broken my heart, my family's heart, my parents, everybody. It took years for me to be able to have a normal conversation with him, a normal conversation with him that wasn't related to our daughter, just a
Right.
normal conversation about, hey, how you doing? How's work? How's life? It took years for me to get to that point because I was so deeply hurt. And I may not have loved him anymore, but nonetheless, the hurt was there,
Yes.
you know. So it takes a long time to cross that bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then I feel, like you said, Lisette, one feels hurt. There's a lot of healing that needs to happen. And how do you
Yes.
pick up and continue into another relationship knowing that there's healing to be happened? You do it slowly, you do it step by step, but you do the work to heal before you
Right.
jump into
Right.
something else.
yeah, I think that's the
Absolutely.
main thing is doing the work. I'm talking with Lucy and Lisette, and today's subject is how soon do you date after a breakup? And I think that's the main thing. Back then in my late 20s, I didn't know anything about working on myself. I didn't know anything about uh, you know, quote unquote rehabbing my mind and my soul. I didn't know anything about that. Obviously, 20 years later, then I started learning about, personal development and self-development and all that self-help. But back then I didn't. So I just didn't, want to hear about anything. Any friends I talked to, I didn't want to hear like, oh, she's a bitch. You don't need her. I didn't want to hear none of that. So I was careful whenever I brought the subject up about this woman. I said, listen, I don't want to hear about that she's a bitch, that because she's not. I don't want to hear that. And like one or two people that I did speak to about it, they were, they understood. They understood. But that's the last thing I want to hear about. Oh yeah, she's this, she's that. No, 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 no. Don't do that. Even back then at that age, 28, 29, I knew not to badmouth somebody, when at
Right.
that
The
age,
judgment.
exactly. At that age, guys, even when I was, oh no, she's the B word, she's the B word, she's this, no, no, no. I don't say that, but you live and learn, like I said, you reflect back, and I reflected what I didn't do, what I didn't say, what my actions didn't keep up with what my heart was saying, and which I should have done, but I didn't. I couldn't let my heart open up back then. And it took a while, like I said, 4 to 6 months before I started seeing someone else. And unfortunately, it was a rebound type of thing, so it wasn't even fair for the woman after. So
Right.
until, maybe another year or two, 6 months to a year or two, then everything was flushed out, and then I could be myself again, and I could, start dating again.
Wow.
you know and I think we all go through that. It's a hard thing to admit, especially for guys. I'm pretty sure guys don't admit that, or even maybe to their closest friend. But I've been around some of my friends that I see where their heart was broken. We're taught to be raw, macho, and but just like anybody else, we have a heart. We have a soul. We have a mind that you start
Right.
thinking things, and I'm like, shit, man, what did I do? What didn't I do? And you have to come to grips that there were some mistakes that I might have made. It's not always the woman's fault. This is supposed to be a 50-50 relationship, and take it like that, not 90-10, 60-40. No, it should be, you're in this together, and relationships are hard work, man. It's hard. It's probably harder than your 9 to 5, harder to be
They
an
definitely are. They definitely are. Definitely.
harder than an entrepreneur. You're constantly working. That person is sad. Okay, let me hear her out. And so it's a lot. It's a lot to go through, and all of us that are looking to date, whether you're 20 or 60, you got to take these things into consideration. There's a lot of work to do.
Definitely does take a lot of
It's a
work.
full-time job.
It
It
is a
is
full-time
full-time.
job. Yeah. Absolutely.
It's a full-time job to stay in the conversation of partnership.
Yeah, exactly. Especially now, in this day and age where there's texting and, like we had a show a while ago about when you break up with someone, dating, texting, or email. Now it's ghosting, which tell me if I'm in the right ballpark, Lucy. That's basically where the person just doesn't even communicate, right? Disappears. Yeah.
Stops communicating.
Yeah.
Which is the same thing as disappearing, because they can still, like, I don't know, being your peripheral vision, but stop communicating is the, I think, because to me, communication is the key to the relationship, period.
Right.
So
Yeah.
when that stops, that's like the heart stops.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, the same thing with you, Lisset, you're bringing out, and obviously, you're in your 20s now, you're a little older, so you could look back and say, okay, this is things that happen. And obviously, again, you're talking years later, but you seem to be in a good place now. You experience what the heartbreak was. And that's always the worst, when there's a damn heartbreak, man, because it's like you don't want anything. You don't want to talk to anybody. You want to, you're ghosting now your friends.
Right.
So to speak,
Right.
sometimes. I know I did that for a little while.
Yeah.
So Lisette, you mentioned that you had 2 divorces. Was your second one easier than the first?
The second one was definitely easier than the first. The first was, my first marriage, my first love, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
The second one, I realized when he made the decision that I wasn't happy in the marriage. So ultimately, he took the first step, and he looked like the bad guy. Had I taken that step, I would have looked like the bad guy. So the fact that he realized that, neither one of us was happy. I think we may have been holding on to the ideal of, yeah, we want to be married, we want to have a family, we had a son, we wanted to try to keep it together, but it definitely wasn't as devastating as the first one.
Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, no, definitely. Thank you. So for you ladies and for the guys, like one what's the word I'm looking for? Advice what I give is just reflect when something happens like that, where you've been broken up with, the other guy and the girl breaks up and gives you these excuses or no excuses or just ghosts you. You got to just sit back and reflect on what happened. Look back and say, okay, what didn't I do? Was there signs that I didn't see? Because sometimes there are signs that we don't see, or sometimes you get words from your partner that you heard her, but you didn't listen to her.
Absolutely.
I went where I, heard the words, but I didn't listen. I went in one ear and out the other. And I'm like, and then when you look back, I'm like, oh my God, the signs were there. I just, my heart took over my mind instead of having it, equal and think of, sit back and think, okay, this woman said this, this, and this. This is a red flag. Or this guy said that, that's a red flag. I think we have to sit back and just always reflect and think about, what did this person say to us? Do we move forward or we stunt our own growth as a person because we're just basically, going for the moment. I don't want
or you revert back to your old habits when you've been trying to help somebody better themselves and they're not listening. And then they're like, oh, but I can change. And that doesn't always happen. They revert back to their old selves instead of taking that as a lesson. I was lacking in ABC. I should do better in improving myself in ABC for the next relationship to come, instead of reverting back to the old ways.
Absolutely. Lucy, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I think that men, I mean, this is not, I'm trying to be careful with my words too, but I think men and women also, like, who we are as we date are the teenagers we were in high school, believe it or not. Unless you do additional work on yourself as you grow older, we continue to be the teenagers that we were in high school. And the people that we were in high school, we don't really have the language to talk about hot topics. We don't really have the language to dissect, oh, what the hell just happened there? I feel hurt. How do I communicate? You know what? This doesn't work for me, but I don't want to hurt her, or something to that effect. So and I say for guys because I feel like women are more open to doing the self-help or but there's some guys that do the work. I've met some guys, so I do give them credit. So I just feel that a lot of us are who we are in high school, and I myself am trying to expand my language around hot topics, period. And so I think it's good if we just say what's on your mind and just say, listen, I don't know how to say this, but I'm going to say it, and just hold space for the other person to just say what they're going to say, and then see how it lands. Instead of not saying it is worse than holding back, is worse than just saying
keeping it in is
you
like a
bottle it
pressure.
up. Yeah.
You bottle it up and then it explodes.
Yeah, I was like that. There was things, and you make a great point, Lucy. I should have spoke and said something, and whether it was agreeable or not agreeable, whether it was hurtful or not hurtful, you bottle up, and then all of a sudden you snap at one instant, and you go, "Oh my God, that's not me." But it's because you bottled it up, and you didn't
Right.
you didn't feel free to talk about it, because in my opinion, you're looking out for them more than you're looking out for yourself. I don't want to hurt them, so I'll hurt myself by bottling
Right.
up and having end up getting an ulcer because you don't want to hurt someone's feelings.
Right.
So
Yeah.
anyway, ladies, first of all, Lucy and Lisset, thank you so much for being honest. I think we all were, but this is definitely eye-opening, because this is stuff that we have to talk about and let other people know that, hey, you're not the only ones out there going through issues. Everybody is. So again, I want to thank Lucy. I want to thank Lisette. This is called People on Dating. Anybody that's looking to be on the show, go to peopleondating@gmail.com. Look for us on People on Dating YouTube show. That's on Facebook. Also go to People on Dating YouTube. Please subscribe, leave a review. Please join us. Anyway, ladies, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you, Willie. Thank you for putting these good talks.
No, definitely. Thanks, ladies.
It was fun.
Yes, like always. Bye.
Bye.
Well, everyone, what did you think about today's topic? How soon do you date after a breakup? I have to thank Lisette and Lucy for their, candor in telling us about their story. When I talked about mine, it wasn't even, I couldn't even compare to theirs. But anyway, I want to thank them for being so understanding about the topic and being so honest. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this show. My name is Willie Morales. It's called People on Dating. You can find me at peopleondating@gmail.com. Also, please leave your comments on our YouTube page. You can find us on our Facebook page, which is People on Dating YouTube show. Anyway, guys, on behalf of People on Dating, I'm Willie Morales. Until next time, thanks, everybody. Have a great day, and please stay safe. Bye.